Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take your complex source material and turn it into the knowledge you need fast.
Today's mission, it takes us right into the heart of, well, modern enterprise IT. It's a complex world.
It really is. If you're running a big business, you're dealing with this tangled web. You've got applications on premise, different clouds, SAP systems, third-party tools.
And the real headache isn't just running one of those things.
No.
It's making them all talk to each other.
Yeah.
Securely, seamlessly.
And that tension is exactly what we're digging into. We're looking at SAP's big strategy for this, the Intelligent Sustainable Enterprise.
And the technology that's supposed to hold it all together? The SAP Business Technology Platform.
Yeah.
BTP.
Right. So our goal today is to really unpack BTP. We want to understand what it does, how it's built, and I think most importantly, how it's meant to drive real change.
Yeah, things like integration, app development, and turning all that data you have into something valuable.
Okay, so let's start with the why. Why does BTP even exist?
Well, it's the engine for what they call the Intelligent Sustainable Enterprise, or IaaS.
The IaaS.
Yeah. And the IaaS is basically SAP's vision for a business that uses tech to constantly improve its processes. It's all about getting your systems to work together for, better results and to do it sustainably.
And I think the most powerful idea here is how they're redefining data. For years, IT just focused on operational data, O data.
Right. Your costs, sales, inventory levels, the transactional stuff, it tells you what happened.
But the ISC strategy says that's only half the picture. You have to connect that with experience data, X data.
Exactly. X data is the human side of things. It's the sentiment, the feelings. It's the why behind what your customers and employees are doing.
So you're not just reacting to a sales dip.
You're understanding why it dipped.
No.
By combining O data and X data, you can start sensing and predicting things instead of just reacting. It's a much more holistic view.
It does sound genuinely intelligent. So BTP is the tech base, but what are the other pillars of this IA structure?
Well, you have refined business processes, the core applications like S4 Inc. in a cloud, and now this really big focus on sustainability management.
Before we go deeper into BTP, we should probably clarify some of the cloud terms. IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, they get thrown around a lot.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So IaaS, infrastructure as a service, that's the bottom layer.
The hardware, basically. Servers, storage.
Exactly. Your hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Then on top of that, you have PaaS, platform as a service. This is where you get the tools and environments to build and run your own stuff.
And this is where BTP lives.
Explicitly, BTP is a PaaS. And then at the very top, you have SaaS, software as a service. That's the finished application, like SuccessFactors. You just use it.
You configure it, but you don't touch the code.
Exactly. So how does a company actually start this journey? One way SAP packages it is with something called RISE with SAP.
Which they brand as business transformation as a service.
Right. It's basically a single contract to get you moving. It bundles the core ERP, which is S4 in a cloud, your choice of infrastructure.
So you can pick AWS or Azure.
Or SAP hosted, sure.
Yeah.
It also includes tools for business process intelligence, or BPI. And critically, it gives you consumption credits for SAP BTP.
So you can start extending and integrating from day one.
That's the idea.
So that BPI layer gives you the insight into how your processes are actually running. What are the big end-to-end processes it's designed to optimize?
The sources point to 4 really critical ones. First is lead to cash.
The whole customer experience.
Yep. From the first ad they see to the final payment. Then you have recruit to retire, which is everything on the HR side.
And for the supply chain?
You've got source to pay for procurement and spend management, and design to operate, which is all about optimizing the digital supply chain from product design to manufacturing.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. So BTP is the platform to make all those processes intelligent. Let's get into the platform itself. What is it fundamentally?
It's an open, unified PaaS. It gives you in-memory capabilities and microservices to build, integrate, and extend applications without messing with your core systems.
It's like the central nervous system for your whole IT landscape.
That's a great way to put it. And when you look at how companies use it, there are really 3 main scenarios.
3 big value drivers.
The first is integration.
Yeah.
You have to connect everything, cloud, on-prem, SAP, non-SAP. It's non-negotiable.
It's okay.
Data to value. Pulling all your scattered data together to get real-time insights. Making that O data and X data connection a reality.
And the third one, which is a huge shift, is extensibility.
Right. Because you can't modify SaaS applications. So if your business needs something unique, a custom app or process, you have to build it as an extension. BTP is the platform for that.
So it keeps your core ERP clean and easy to upgrade.
That's the fundamental shift. It
Right.
moves development from inside the ERP to outside on the
Right.
platform.
Let's look under the hood. How is BTP structured for an administrator?
It's a hierarchy. At the very top, you have your global account. That's your contract with SAP. It holds all your entitlements.
And under that,
You create sub-accounts. You might have one for HR projects, one for finance. It's how you organize your resources and manage who can do what.
and where does the code actually run?
That happens in a region, which is a physical data center run by SAP or a hyperscaler. And inside a sub-account in that region, you activate an environment. That's the actual PaaS offering.
And what are the main environments developers can choose from?
There are a few, but the main ones are the Cloud Foundry environment, which is for open standard languages like Java or Python. Then there's the ABAP environment.
For the existing SAP developer community.
Exactly, for building extensions for things like S/4HANA Cloud. And then there's the Kyma environment.
I hear about Kyma all the time now.
Yeah.
It's based on Kubernetes, right?
It is. It's a fully managed Kubernetes runtime.
Yeah.
And that's vital because it lets you build these massive, scalable, portable applications that can run on any cloud. It's really built for modern, agile development.
Okay, let's talk money. This is where it can get complicated.
Okay.
There are 3 different ways to buy BTP services.
Right. And it's basically a scale of commitment. The first is pay-as-you-go, or PAYG.
No upfront cost.
None. You just pay for exactly what you use. It's perfect for testing things out or for apps with really low usage.
Low risk. Okay, what's the next step up?
That's the Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreement, or CPEA. With CPEA, you buy a block of cloud credits up front.
And then you use those credits on any service you want.
Exactly. The big advantage is that you get access to almost everything on BTP without having to change your contract. It's flexible.
And the highest level of commitment.
That would be a traditional subscription. You pick a set of services and you pay a fixed rate for a fixed term, no matter how much you use.
So that gives you budget predictability and probably the best discount.
Usually, yeah. It's for when you know exactly what you need for a critical, stable workload.
Now, a big security question. How do you connect BTP back to all those legacy systems sitting on-premise without, opening up your whole network?
That is the job of the SAP Cloud Connector. You can think of it like a secure tunnel. It's a reverse invoke proxy, which is a fancy way of saying it creates a secure, outbound-only connection from your on-premise network to the cloud.
So the cloud can request data, but the internet can't just knock on your door.
Precisely. You get very specific control over which internal systems are accessible. It's essential.
Okay, so we've got the foundation. Let's move up the stack to the actual capabilities, starting with integration.
Right. So the SAP Integration Suite is the IPRS offering here. And what makes it powerful is its openness. Through what they call open connectors, they provide pre-built connectivity to over 170 non-SAP applications.
So you're not locked into the SAP ecosystem.
You're not. And the other big thing is AI-driven integration. They have a service called the Integration Advisor. It uses machine learning to suggest how to map fields between 2 different systems.
Which can save a developer a massive amount of time.
A huge amount of time.
All right, let's switch to application development. We've said you can't modify SaaS, so you have to build extensions. But who's going to build them all? There aren't enough professional developers.
And that's where the citizen developer comes in. This is the business expert, the process owner, who knows what they need but can't write code.
This is where low-code and no-code tools are so important.
It's the only way to bridge the gap. No-code tools let a business user build a simple workflow with drag and drop. Low-code lets them do a bit more, maybe with some simple scripting.
But doesn't that create a governance nightmare for IT?
It can, but the platform is designed to manage that. IT still has visibility and control. They can see what's being built and ensure it's secure and compliant. It's about empowerment within a governed framework.
And for the professional developers, what's their main tool?
Their strategic environment is the SAP Business Application Studio, or BAS. It's a browser-based IDE, kind of like VS Code, that runs in the cloud.
And it comes with these dev spaces.
Yeah, they're pre-configured environments. So if you need to build a Fiori app, you just launch the Fiori dev space, and all the tools and libraries you need are already there.
Once the code is written, it has to be deployed. The term CI/CD is everywhere, but people get it confused. Let's clarify.
We should. So continuous integration, or CI, is the baseline. It means you're always merging code, so you always have a stable working build.
Always ready.
Always ready. Now, continuous delivery. Think of it like this. The software is built, tested, and ready for production. But a human has to push the final deploy button.
So there is a person making the call.
Right. With continuous deployment, the final step is also automated. The second your code passes all the tests, it's pushed to production automatically. No human intervention.
The robot pushes the button.
The robot pushes the button. That's the difference.
Let's pivot to the data pillar. At the center of all this is SAP Chain Cloud.
Absolutely. SAP H Cloud is the database as a service, or DDAS, that underpins the whole platform. It's in-memory, multi-tier, fully managed. It's the data foundation.
And the big architectural innovation is about pushing down the processing, right?
Precisely. Instead of your application pulling millions of rows of data across the network to process it, you push the logic down into the database itself.
You build these things called calculation views.
Exactly. The application just asks for the final result. The heavy lifting happens in Asana. This makes your apps way leaner and faster.
And Asana Cloud isn't just for rows and columns.
No, that's its multi-model capability. It can handle specialized data natively, things like spatial data for maps, graph data for networks, hierarchies. It's all in one place.
Okay, so on top of that data layer sits analytics. The goal here is data democratization.
Which is a buzzword, but it means giving everyone from IT to the business user the right tools to work with data.
And the two big cloud services for this are SAC and DWC.
Right. SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC, is your front end. It combines BI, planning, and predictive analytics in one tool. Then you have SAP Data Warehouse Cloud, or DWC, which is the pure data warehouse as a service.
What's the key architectural idea behind DWC that makes it so agile?
It's this concept of decoupling. DWC separates the technical data layer, which IT manages, from the business-facing business layer.
So the business layer is where users define their KPIs, their business logic.
Exactly. How do we calculate profit margin? That's defined in the business layer. And because it's separate from the data layer.
IT can change the underlying systems without breaking all the business reports.
That's the magic. The business definitions stay stable. This allows for real self-service for business users. They can trust the data, even as the tech landscape underneath is constantly changing.
That is a huge deal. Okay, final segment, the last few pillars. AI, security, and sustainability. What's the AI strategy?
The main strategy is to embed AI into existing applications. But they also have standalone services like SAP Conversational AI to build chatbots and Intelligent RPA to automate repetitive manual tasks with bots.
And for security, you have two very different kinds of users to worry about.
You do. You've got your platform users, the admins and developers working on BTP, and then you have your business users who are the end users of the apps running on BTP.
And access for both is controlled with roles and role collections.
Correct. And the actual login process is handled by SAP Cloud Identity Services. This has two parts: identity authentication for SSO and logins, and identity provisioning to manage the user lifecycle, creating and deleting users across all your systems.
Finally, sustainability. The S in IC.
Yeah, this is about adding what they call a green line to the business to go along with the top line of growth and the bottom line of profit.
How does the software help with that?
Through new tools like SAP Product Footprint Management, which calculates a product's environmental impact, and also by embedding features in existing apps. For example, TripIt by Concur can now track the carbon emissions from your flights.
So to sum it all up, BTP is this unified, open platform that's really designed to manage all this modern complexity, from core data and integration all the way up to AI and sustainability.
It's the operating system for the intelligent enterprise.
So after all that, what does this mean for you, the listener? If you pull back from all the product names and acronyms, what's the one big idea that BTP really represents for the future?
I think it comes back to that architectural concept of decoupling we talked about with the data warehouse cloud. The ability to completely separate the business layer, where business experts define what things mean, from the messy, constantly changing data layer managed by IT.
That separation means the business can move faster.
Much faster.
Yeah.
It means business users can actually do self-service modeling and trust the insights they create without having to file an IT ticket every time a source system changes. This idea, this concept of having stable, democratized knowledge, even when the technology underneath is in constant flux, I think that is what truly defines an intelligent enterprise.
That is a powerful goal, a stable source of truth in a very complicated world. Thank you for guiding us through this.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.